So,
we should be sitting closer together.
yeah.
Let's sit
Well, first of all, Miranda, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Sure.
Love the film.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and you know, when I take a look at sort of your career, you wear so many hats. You know, you're a producer. You're running a film critics website now.
I'm not running it. I started it.
You
and
started
then
it.
I have a lot of approval.
Okay.
I did hire someone recently to run it, so I could do this.
You've been a producer for a lot of films, some award-winning films, and now Being Frank is your first directorial narrative debut.
Yeah.
Did you find making it to be a new challenge, or was it just a different kind of pressure for you?
Way to go, Hilda. Pressure, new kind of pressure. I wouldn't call it pressure. I find much more pressure in being a parent.
Yes.
than any of those jobs listed. No, but it was new. It was really fun. You know, what I liked about it, it was much more meditative than being a producer or even acting. Acting is very meditative in the sense like when you're in the role in the moment.
Yeah.
But then, you know, once it's like cut and reset and the lights and everything, like there's this kind of like you have to downtime. And whereas like when you're directing, you're just like,
Yeah.
like for 3 months.
Right.
And I found that incredibly liberating because I wasn't worried about anything except for just in the moment, that exact scene we were doing.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, what do you're saying that you like directing better than writing, or?
No, not better. It's just different. I think it depends on the project. I mean, there are certainly many projects that I like producing that I would not want to direct. And same with acting that I act in that I don't want to direct. And there's, I think writing and directing, yes, kind of go hand in hand pretty well, or rewriting, shall we say, or director passing writing, you know, that kind of stuff.
Did you change anything in this film after you had people watch it?
Yes, I did. I was able to use the festival circuit and some of the reviews that we got from South by Southwest as a workshop to change it to the theatrical version that it is now, which is called Being Frank, as opposed to You Can Choose Your Family.
Yeah.
And that was the reason to change the title?
Yes, well, actually, you know, I always wanted to change the title because the script originally was much more about Philip wanting to be in the other family. And, you know, the project had changed and became much more about a father-son, you know, relationship, and Frank's character grew, and everyone's character kind of grew. And I just didn't know what the title was, but then while I was kind of workshopping it, the title Being Frank came to me then because of the double entendre of just, you know, being forthcoming and truthful, and because the movie's really about everybody's lies and everyone's relationship with the truth.
Yeah, that's that seems to come forward in this film. And you are working with Jim Gaffigan. I mean, can you talk about sort of bringing him onto the film? And for you, did anything change in that character the minute you had Jim Gaffigan cast as this lead role?
Well, you know, no.
Yeah.
I would say, because the problem I had with anyone else being in it, even though there were many people that were offered the role before Jim, but that's because I didn't know who Jim was.
Yeah.
Or of Jim at all.
Yeah.
It's really interesting when you cast, because like, you know, like you can look at the same words on the page and imagine Jason Bateman saying them, or look at them and imagine, you know, Martin Short or whoever, and everyone, it becomes their movie.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to make sure that whoever I cast, it doesn't become like, even though now it is a Jim Gaffigan movie, but
right.
Really, it's not another Jim Gaffigan movie because this is the first one he shot.
right. Yeah.
So hopefully now he can be like, now this will be the Jim Gaffigan, you know, the beginning of the Jim Gaffigan movies where he's a lead.
Yeah.
Because he's, I really wanted it just to be Frank, this guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, well, and he's a family man too, so
Yeah.
I think he sort of fits into that. You know, for him, he's a father of 5 and he's a son of 6, so it's like for him the concept of juggling 2 families is probably like, oh, that's just one family for me. So
Yeah.
that might have been difficult, or not difficult in his eyes, or
Yeah.
at least to come up with the character.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. And then you also have Anna Gunn here too, and I just was like watching this movie and I'm thinking to myself, Anna Gunn cannot be married to a man who doesn't have lies. I mean, first she's married to Walter White in Breaking Bad, and now she's
In Equity, she's not.
okay. Yeah. So and now she's in this, and her husband's sort of got secrets behind her back. Talk about just her and all the female, Samantha Matheson, who I think is a great actor as well. Talk about bringing them onto the film as well.
Well, when I was, working on the character of Laura, I'm always imagined Anna Gunn.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was because I was watching Breaking Bad or I just watched Equity, or I'm not really sure, but there's a quality that she has that I kind of relate to that's just like, she doesn't feel like an actress.
Yeah. Yeah.
She feels like a regular person, and that's what I was really drawn to about her. And luckily she said yes, right away.
Yeah.
Samantha, I'd always known because, obviously I had a crush on River Phoenix like every other girl my age, and she dated him, so like we hated her. She doesn't know this, by the way, so hey Sam. But so we had a different actress in the role for her character Bonnie, and that actress had a family emergency and dropped out.
Okay.
But the kids were already cast with dark hair.
Yeah.
And I had 2 weeks before we were starting to shoot, and there was 5 actresses that were available. And I met with them, and they were all like gorgeous blondes. And I'm like, well, how am I going to do this? And Sam was just very natural, and she was willing to dye her hair, and she felt very kind of kooky, and had that kind of not too kooky, but artsy and lovable.
Yeah.
And she just felt right, she just felt right, and she dyed her hair, like I said.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
When you did this and thought about what the subject is, did you draw anything from your own relationship with your family?
Yes, I am Philip.
You are?
I am Philip. I'm the 17-year-old boy. I think like a 17-year-old boy, and I related to him. And I was able to say everything to my father that I wanted to with this movie, and I was able to have my mother tell me everything I wished she had told me in this movie, and that was very cathartic.
Yeah.
So this is based on truth?
Well, no. It is not based on truth, but the dialogue is true. The story is not.
Okay. Well, Phil has a tough relationship with his dad.
Yes, when
And
he was
that was
17.
But it changed?
Well, I mean, if you think about what Anna says, she says, he'll always be your dad. He's
Right.
leaving her, or she's leaving him, but he'll always be his dad.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of children who go through divorce, especially if one of the parents leaves, they feel that they're not just leaving their spouse, they're leaving the whole family, and that's just not the case. But you think it is when you're younger.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, and also too, I mean, that kind of leads me to my next question too. Something that I actually loved about the script, and maybe this is something that happened when Jim comes on to the film, but I loved your portrayal of masculinity in this film. I think a lot of times in cinema today, we're seeing a lot of movies with masculine men, superheroes, things of this nature. And this is a film that has a father and son relationship that starts a little bit rough, but grows almost as a bonding experience through family strife and trying to keep secrets. Was that sort of something you wanted to make sure that you portrayed in this film? I mean, I know that there's moments where it's I don't want to go fishing. I don't like fishing, Or there's moments where it's I like music, or, you know what I mean? Just things of that nature that fathers need to allow their sons to do.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't really think of it as masculinity or femininity or anything. Like I said, I identified with the character of Philip. I mean, I'm technically a woman, and I feel that I'm a woman.
Right.
But I think a lot of teenagers, boys or girls, kind of can feel the struggles that he feels. And in terms of like fishing, like, you know, I love fishing. But I also, you know, I grew up like, so when Eddie says, you know, I don't know what I like, I just know what I'm good at. You know, I was put in the position when I was younger to be a ski racer, and I didn't want to be, but I knew my dad really wanted me to be it. And so that part of Eddie is also something I was able to kind of, you know, explore. Right. You know, and do how much we do the things for our parents that they want us to do that we don't really like. And now I do it with my son. I'm like, I really don't want to play Fortnite. But I'll do it.
There's a very fun character, Alex. Correct?
Yeah.
What's his
and
name?
That's who I really am. I play Alex.
Yeah. But he has a terrific arc, and he finds family himself too. Can you talk about finding him for that part in his character?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because it was really written as very Zach Galifianakis-y kind of written, and of course we couldn't get Zach to do it because he had already done it a million times. So then you're like, well, who can be Zach Galifianakis differently with, you know, more whatever. And so we were kind of like always kind of twisting the role and pushing it, and I was like, oh, let's make him a stoner, and all right, let's have him be cheated on by his wife, and you're just like making up all these, you know, coming up with all these things. And then I really kind of wanted John Turturro, and everyone, when I say everyone, I mean the producers and the casting directors were like, no, he is way too old for this role. He is not right at all. I'm like, I'm telling you, he's right. He can do it. But they were like, no, he's not. And I'm like, fine, then find me the young John Turturro. And they were like, this guy. And I was like, oh yeah, the guy from Girls, totally, yeah, let's go to him. He's totally young John Turturro. Let's do it.
Right. Did he come up with anything on his own that was against off the script?
I'm sure everybody did. Yes, of course. He was lovely to work with, actually, and he's a director as well. So it was great having his support. You know, like it was my first time, and he's like, oh, yeah, I've been through this, you know, so it was really good. It was really good, and he, you know, obviously he's really willing to go there. I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't able to show his full frontal, because he had this, like, nudity writer, even though it happens to women all the time.
Right.
But, you know, he was really, you know, really willing to go there and really, like, take those risks and, you know, be vulnerable on set, and that was really funny. And obviously, like, you know, like, I didn't tell him don't get out of the couch. You know, he did that himself. So all of the actors, you know, I'm an actor myself, and so, you know, all of the actors were told to play. And then you pick the best.
What did Jim Gaffigan do that surprised you?
What did he not do that surprised me? Let's see. What was it? Well, you know, don't smoke crack. Don't smoke crack is my favorite ad-lib line of the movie, and he only said it once, so there's that one. And then thank God I got my tetanus shot. That's another one that was a good ad-lib. I mean, there's lots of great ad-lib lines in this movie from the guys. Yeah, I think the girls stuck more to, you know, because they didn't have the comedy. You know, they didn't have the
right.
Yeah.
They were had to be a little bit more oblivious to what was going on behind them. Well, and I'm sort of, you know, I want to talk a little bit more about your career. I mean, I'm just fascinated by it. I mean, a lot of, you know, women might have been beaten down a little bit more by the system and taken their lumps and had to work really hard, but you sort of grabbed things, you know,
by the balls.
By the balls, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, you created your own production company, things of that nature. Sort of, can you talk about, like, how do you, you know, sort of inspire other women, and what do you hope other women will be able to understand, that, like, they can go out and do it on their own, and to not let these sort of barriers that are around them sort of dictate what they do?
I don't think I was fully conscious of the barriers that were there. So, not that they didn't exist, because I know they did. I mean, when I started producing, I found a male, you know, director to partner with in order to be taken seriously. I mean, I understood that that's the way society was. But I never found it a barrier, an obstacle, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I was one of 2 girls in my graduating class. So I had 10 kids who graduated. 8 were boys and 2 were girls. So it was 20%.
Yeah.
So going to Hollywood and having 20% of them women be, that was totally normal to me.
Yeah.
I've been in rooms and it's all guys, and I didn't have any problems with it. I wasn't one of the guys, certainly, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
It just was natural because that's how I grew up on the ski team.
Right.
And I don't know. I guess I always had this sense of entitlement that I just was going to do what I was going to do. And I never really thought of it, me being a boy or a girl. I've experienced immense amount of sexism.
Right.
But I think men are experiencing sexism. And I think, racism and anti-Semitism and, there's ageism and weightism. I mean, we all, I think we all experience those kinds of things.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it takes a certain sort of courage to even just say, if they say no, I'm going to go out and do it on my own and not listen to the no's because,
well,
that's what I think is just like fascinating.
Well, that's from my dad, and I'll tell you when I realized that. So I did this documentary. And it was a very controversial documentary. It was before I did Being Frank.
Right?
No.
Oh.
That was not a controversial documentary.
Okay.
That was a comedy.
Yeah.
But I did this documentary called The Pathological Optimist. And at one point before I'd finished the movie, the topic of vaccines, even though my movie was about the guy, not vaccines, but the guy who was very controversial. My agency got very nervous about me doing it, and my lawyers got very nervous about me doing it, and I called my dad and I'm like, Dad, I don't know what to do, and blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, is any of this going to hurt your kids? And I'm like, well, no, it's not about me or my family. And he goes, well, Miranda, you're going to have to I was like, do I put it on the shelf? Do I just stop? I don't want people to think certain things of me. And he's like, Miranda, you're going to do what you're going to do. And all I can tell you is I didn't raise no wussy. And so I put it out.
Yeah.
So I think all of my bravery isn't so much bravery as much as it is, he wasn't afraid of trying new things, and so I was able to learn not to be afraid also.
Yeah.
But he also clarified for you that what was going to happen. What's the worst that could happen?
Yes, he wanted, first, is your kid's going to be okay? That's, let's not, okay.
Right.
So it's just you, who cares?
Yeah.
I think it's true. He didn't raise, a wussy. I went very fast skiing and, he's forced me into a lot of situations that are dangerous.
Well,
and I've made it through.
Well, you got yourself into a situation with the film at one point, too, with the music. Can you talk about the soundtrack and how you got into singing one of the songs?
Yes! Oh, my God! I don't know. This is kind of proof that, anyone can do anything. I think now this will be like my proof. Like when someone's like, I can't do it, I'll be like, yes, you can.
Yeah.
Because here's why. So 2 days before, 2-3 days before our sound mix, when you have to have all of the music locked, we had Jay Giles Band, and I had cut this part of the movie to this Jay Giles Band song called Piss on a Wall. And then they decided that they weren't going to go for the price that we were giving them, and they didn't want 2 to 3 times more, and it was Most Favored Nation, so we couldn't afford it, and I was really upset because none of the other songs could fit, and all of the ones that I was getting in time, and I went to my producer, I don't know if it's to beg her to pay for it, or I don't know what it was, but I was just like, I need this, whatever. She's like, I don't know what to tell you, Miranda, go write one, okay? And I was like, do that. So I called the composer and I'm like, hey, listen, sending you the scene. Here's the thing. We're going to do it. I'm going to send you the lyrics. I'll come over and 1 night, 3 nights, I took a bunch of shots of whiskey, gave myself some black mascara, listened to Joan Jett and Concrete Blonde, and pretended I was one of them and sang a song that I wrote. And it's in the movie and it's great. It's not a great song, but it's great in the movie.
Yeah.
So it totally works. It works better than the Check House Band song. So,
and you were also time constraint too. You had to have it within a certain.
Well, yes. If you had told me that I have to do this 6 months from now, I'd be like, it's impossible. But if you're like, you have 2 days to make this work, you'd be surprised what you can do. You know, we the limitations that we put on ourselves and we believe, and then those become true.
Right.
You know, and if you don't have time to think about all the things you can't do or how stupid you're going to look and how bad you're going to be at it, if you don't have time to think about that and you just do it because you're like, what's the worst that can happen? It's going to be shitty either way without this song. Might as well be me for free.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of had the same sort of situation with locations as well, did you not? I mean, I thought like at one point you were going to shoot it in California, but then you ended up shooting it in New York.
Well, I mean, I wanted Big Bear. I mean, I imagined, but Jim, when Jim came on, it moved to New York right away.
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
I mean, and that didn't seem to affect you. You just were like, yeah, we'll shoot.
No, they told. I mean, I scouted a lot of stuff in the snow, and they promised me the leaves would be on the trees when I shot, and I had to believe them. You know, and they were right. So it did. You know, but it was a little nerve wracking.
Yeah, that's. I mean, so I mean, and this movie too. I mean, before we like wrap up, is a little bit of a throwback of kind of comedies, family comedies. You know, I think of movies like The Great Outdoors or you know, things of that nature. What sort of reaction? I mean, you've already seen it from people at South by Southwest, but what sort of reaction are you hoping that audiences will have when they see a movie of this nature?
Well, you know, I really just want people to have a good time.
Yeah.
You know, I want people to like. I mean, that's what I like about comedies, and comedies with heart is great because then it's not just silly.
Yeah.
Although I love Silly, and Step Brothers is my favorite movie of all time.
Yes.
But I think, you know, my favorite thing about movies and music and paintings and everything is that, you know, each person gets to look at it through their own lens. And so there are going to be people who see this and identify with the moms, or who identify with Jim, or who laugh or hate it or love it, or, you know, at this point I don't really have control over any of that.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of cool that we can all look at something and find what we like about it. So I don't know. I mean, I hope they enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say one more thing, that I think it's kind of like a drawing room farce to a certain extent, because you have people coming in and out who are in all these secrets. Did any of that not work and you had to change it?
No, it worked, but I had to make sure that it wasn't too farcical on the kind of Sacha Baron Cohen farce side, and more farcical on like the Pinter side.
Yeah.
I think it's Pinter. Yeah. Or like Wendy Wasserstein. I don't know. You know, that kind of the actor, I guess, more grounded. Neil Simon.
Yeah.
Neil Simon.
There you
Neil
go.
Simon?
Yeah.
Neil Simon. More like that.
What about Phil? He seems to be older than his dad in a lot of ways. And even his little sister
Well,
seems
the
to be.
sister's very smart. Of
Yes.
course. The young women are always the smartest. My daughter tells me what to do all the time. She was like the other day, I'm like, you better wash your face, you're going to get zits. And she goes, Mom, where's that power? Don't say that. I'm not getting zits. And I was like, do I let you watch Oprah? What's going on?
Really? So did she surprise you, the little girl that was in the...
Oh, Emerson?
Yes,
Oh my
Emerson.
God.
She's sharp.
She's
Yeah.
great. She's fantastic. I love her. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much, Miranda.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.